Do you want to post about it? Still have 2 minutes. We are live. Okay. Okay. In the meanwhile, can Kittel or someone else let us know that both of our audios look good? Because we've been having some technical troubles behind the scenes and also on the scene, I guess. Yes, sir. So hi everyone. Welcome back after a couple of weeks. Apologies, we just had some scheduling clashes, and I think last week was. I mean, we did have a lot of decisions to make. So okay, so he's saying they can't hear you, which means that yeah, it is cooked again.
Wonderful.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Joachim. Thank you, Kittel.
Hopefully
Yeah,
it's fine now. I'm not sure though.
it should be, but yeah, just keep letting us know as soon
Yeah.
as what's it is okay. It's like what? Okay. Yeah, okay. So, welcome back everyone to season 4, episode 13 of the FPL Script. This is JD along with Fran with me. I'm just going to quickly run through my Game Week 12 team. It's kind of a mixed bag, I guess, because technically we did have a good Game Week, both of us, with near identical points. But at the same time, most of the field had a better Game Week, so it doesn't look like it doesn't feel that good because again, both of us, I think, you also had Lacroix, right? So we both got 11 from him, and only to be outscored by Munoz. And Virgil is just, I mean, I'm just running out of just energy, honestly,
At
at
least
this
we've
point.
convinced other people to own Virgil.
And see, honestly, like initially, I was a little annoyed, and you had mentioned this. I remember in our previous pod where you were talking about it's going to be the case that we are going to be holding all the blanks, and then as soon as the fixtures turn, everyone is going to own him. But by the end of it, I was happy because I knew that everyone was going to be a part of this um, suboptimal show, let's say, for a lack of better word. So there's that. Also, Saka captaincy. I mean, I was thrilled that Holland blanked, and then obviously 4 goals, no returns, and Defcon. So it's a great experience. Also, both of us sold Enzo, so I'll let Fran speak on Enzo because I have to leave something for him to talk about because even though our moves were slightly different, we did end up making similar moves towards a similar game week 16 top up. So yeah, Fran, how was your week?
Yeah, it was not a great week. Kind of similar situation to yourself, as you mentioned. Excuse me, just a bit ill today. But yeah, I mean, I was delivering between either just doing Gabriel to Munoz or doing Gabriel to Richards and then Enzo to Mbemo. The reason why I went for the Mbemo type move is because I kind of thought about it like where if Semenyo is fine for the future, I think most of my kind of paths or souls would eventually lead me to sell someone like Enzo either this week if I ignore the free hit or the week after anyways because the general fixture run for Chelsea is quite poor, whereas obviously Mbemo just has amazing games like, and I kind of thought about it where okay, if I don't go for let's say the Enzo out move uh when it's a luxury move, I think I kind of missed the boat on Mbemo potentially because he's a bit I could be priced out of him. And I guess second of all, maybe like I won't even go there, for considerations of like okay, there's Cunha and Foden, etc. So when the sort of Monday morning came around, I felt pretty good about actually going for the move, having known that Minte and Enzo got their points. But yeah, I mean, uh, it obviously is just awful in terms of the outcome, and obviously Mbemo got a yellow as well. And like I just
Yeah.
think about the week, it's just like all the Everton auto subs that people got.
Oh God. Oh God.
It's just comedy. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was sort
The
of
auto subs in general, right? Because
yeah. No, it's
I
true.
think
I mean,
based
I
on
got an auto
analytical
sub jam,
input,
so I can't complain too
I
much,
know.
right? Yeah.
I know, but at the same time, and also I changed my order from benching Lacroix and playing Senesi to the other way around 1 minute prior to the deadline, while I was on the plane and as it was about to take off. So I was a little happy, but at the same time, as soon as Semenyo was not playing, it was irrelevant, right? So even if it had been the other way around, it was fine. But looking at, usually I would feel a lot more aggrieved. But with Semenyo, I mean, you kind of knew that if he didn't play, you were going to get Anderson. So I'm not that peeved. Like usually, I would be a lot more peeved. But I think Semenyo auto subs were to be expected to a much larger extent than you usually would expect. So I'm not too aggrieved with that, but Kuna definitely, yeah, because people were cribbing all on over the timeline about Kuna missing out, and then everyone got more points than Kuna would ever have scored in that game. So that's just absolutely diabolical, the amount of auto subs we've seen. But it is what it is, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's not much you can really do with situations like that because I don't know. It's
I
yeah,
have
just a
I have
classic
a
painful
question to ask.
engaged like good game week where we don't get the points.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Because I think you have whom do you have on the bench? Because I had Elliot Anderson
Well, yeah, I
who
mean,
scored
I
9
had
points.
Krupi Jr. ahead of Dewsbury Hall, and Dewsbury Hall was
Yeah,
last on the
yeah,
bench.
yeah. No, just a quick question for you about this. So, how do you feel about a rule change where you only get like a certain fraction of auto sub points? Do you think that would work in a game like FPL?
I think it's so terrible though because it's like,
That's what I'm thinking, right? Because it's like you
yeah,
would just basically default to like never risking anything if a player is even has the slightest doubts. So I feel like it would lead to a much more stale game, but I don't know.
yeah. I mean, it's also kind of like a lot of auto subs are unlucky anyway. It's like you don't really plan to use auto subs, and I don't know.
Yeah,
There's obviously some weeks where like people get rewarded for having a bad auto sub, and it just works out because that player does well in that week. Um, but we'd like to think that having a stronger bench more often than not leads to better results. But I don't know. I don't think like reducing bench strength is probably helpful in that sense. Um, is that a rule that's actually used in other fantasy games?
no, but I was thinking, like for example, we have safety net, right, in certain fantasy games, where you basically don't care if a player is not nailed to start as long as
Right. Oh yeah, yeah. I see what you mean. Yeah.
their max EV is better than other players. So I was thinking, what about the other way around, where you basically want to ensure that any jam per se is sort of taxed. But at the same time, I'm also thinking like there are situations where you genuinely it is the right play to field a player because they are like for Semenyo, right? I think we all of us were justified in playing Semenyo, but
Yeah.
I don't think people should have been taxed for getting auto subs for him.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
And same with Kunna, right? Because he was like, it's a freak injury. No one expected that. So
Yep.
again, I don't want people to tax people for it. So maybe the caveat would be like, if the I don't know, like that's why like it becomes too complicated. And FPL, you want it to be a simple game, but at the same time, every single season it's just getting more and more complicated. So I don't know. Maybe they will introduce it at a future time, but also at the same time, maybe auto sub is an engagement tool because
Yeah, it
that
is.
keeps people engaged to the end of the week, right? Because like Tarkowski, yeah, or Michael Keane, getting their points in the last game of the game week is the best outcome for FPL as a game. So that I think makes sense.
Yeah, it's true. There is a sense of engagement when you have like auto sub jam, and
Yeah,
everyone would rather have it than not. um, yeah, because I mean, like you're not really playing to have an auto sub come in, but if it happens, it happens.
yeah.
Yeah, so that was our pretty mediocre-ish game week, just because everyone else had better ones. But I don't know. Like when I look at my team, it's still pretty good. As long as I have the opportunity, I guess, to move Mateta to Tiago and Dewsbury Hall to Minte, I think I actually don't really need to touch my team ever in FPL, and I still have that. Even if I'm going to free hit this week, so I think the leg room that I have is like 0.3 million in the bank. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking forward to, and why I'm going to commit into the free hit because I think what I think the free hit actually does in terms of like affecting FPL planning is it does sort of obstruct from like you setting up your structure. So I feel like generally speaking, if I like the team structure that I have and my free hit's not going to impede it, I'm just going to free hit. So that's why I've committed to free hit on
Mm,
this week. But we did want to discuss this as a general point, right? Because I think you've run, for example, chip shot solve. This is obviously a review. Chip shot
yeah.
solve. I think naturally, despite how the sort of chip shot tool works, it is meant to sort of be agnostic to, future game weeks and the strength of them, like as free hit windows. But I think it always does tend to lead itself to backing the immediate free hit week, right? I feel like just because around like we have probably some sort of certainty over minutes and things like that in the short term, and then like I think even your basemans, when you know that there's a time decay, kind of influences the rest of the solve is how I would tend to interpret it. Because for example, like we're so much closer to realizing free at 13 now, whereas like the best free at 16 team, like you probably don't see the full gap.
Yeah.
Because there might be players who are crucial in a free at 16 that actually just have really good minutes by the time we land on 16, whereas now they don't, and maybe they're not impactful to 13 as an example for whatever reason. But I think what's nice about free at 13, if I wanted to mention this, is like I do think it's the draft that I think doesn't have that classical issue of like, oh, is it going to be a week where you take Haaland out of the draft or something like that?
Yeah. True.
Um, so I feel like that's why 16 has always been a little bit mad to me. 15, I think, is also a pretty good Haaland game. So that's, you don't have that issue there. So those are the popular weeks, I'd say. 17 has seemingly fallen down the pecking order. I mean, these are slivers of EV, so it doesn't matter so
Honestly,
much.
that's
But
exactly what I
yeah,
was going to come to, which is when you so for if you want to just look at free hit windows, I feel like this chip timing tool is a lot more useful. Okay, so this is the order I would put it in. Triple captaincy would be the most reliable, obviously, because there's no planning other than
yeah,
owning the player you want to triple captain. But I think other than triple captaincy, free hit would be the second most reliable chip that I would try to see, because once you have time decay set at 1.01, it means that basically you don't care about decay, like you said, which could mean that there are potential future paths that open up because of injury or because of availability that are currently closed. And so you might see some changes in this. But what the purpose of me running this was, I am still on the edge of whether I want to play it or not. And so this is what is sort of convincing me right now to play it, because if let's say, for example, free hit 15 or 16 were to be at the top and free hit 13 were like, let's say, third or fourth, that would just sort of confirm my bias against playing it right now, and then I would maybe not play it. But the fact that it is clear right now for my team just means that I have another reason to play it. Other
yeah,
than obviously, I don't own a single Brentford player. I only have one free transfer, unlike you who have two. So, for example, let's say you decide not to free it, you could easily just buy Thiago this week, and that is like one of the biggest expected value weights within your team.
yeah.
So that I think you could potentially skip free hit, but I don't think I can do that. So based on this, I think I'm pretty locked in. Yeah, not gonna lie.
Really? Okay, fair play. I'm trying to
Yeah.
fix my lighting, but see, like what I don't like about free at 15 is honestly, it's literally just the exact same reasons for free at 13. Um,
Hmm.
I don't even see why you'd want to even free at 15, because I think okay, there's definitely Champions League, which is another thing, but all
Wait,
the
free hit
reason
15 would be after Champions League or prior to?
um
After, right?
so I think it's sandwiched right before a set of Champions League games, right? So, for example, when Real Madrid face
Oh
City,
yeah, because sorry, my bad. Because
yeah, yeah,
14 is midweek, right? Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, yeah, that makes
yeah,
sense. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
because the way I see it, it's like it's so similar to this week from a logical perspective. You're looking
Yeah.
at an Arsenal fixture and saying that's mediocre. Well, first of all, I think Chelsea's much better than Aston Villa, so on that logic, sure, I don't know. I mean, you could probably go to head, maybe as a reason to why Aston Villa could be better, because they actually have had some pretty good historical results versus Arsenal. But in reality, for me, like Chelsea, just far clear. If you wanted to sell Chelsea players like already, it would make sense, right? Because Chelsea don't have a good game. Similar to how Chelsea don't have a
Yeah.
good game this week. City have a great game. I don't think we can really dispute that. But it's probably still, I think City versus Leeds. I guess emotionally, people are just like Sunderland less as an opponent, and I kind of get that. But their defense hasn't really been too different this season. I think for me, that's the same quality game. You get the benefit of Brighton versus West Ham, which I think is very similar conceptually to Brentford versus Burnley in the sense that you'll triple up on a team that you won't usually be tripled up on. Like, for example, sure, you can mention Thiago as like the go-to pick where, of course, if I make free transfers this week and I ignore free at 13, I go Thiago. But I'm losing Mateta anyways, so it's not like I'm gaining that much expected value, unless Mateta's obviously not going to play a lot, which I think is a fair point to contend. But I just think it's the Shades, it's the Collins, it's the Vandenbergs, these types of picks that you'll get the points from, similar to, I guess, Van Heck and Welbeck on that Brighton matchup. And then Crystal Palace, on paper, have a poorish game because they're away versus Fulham. And then United have a great game, right? Which I suppose is the difference. Like, they'd probably land in your free at 15 draft. But I own those United players. So, of course, free at 15 for me makes no sense because I'm already kind of invested in the
Correct.
right way. So, yeah, when I look at it, I just think all the reasons are basically the same as 13. And, that there's all the same rotation considerations because, as I said, for some big teams like City, you've got Real Madrid right after the Sunderland game. So, if anything, I don't know, like if you really wanted to maximize, I guess, on what Triple City is going to look like, you probably actually want that right after they've just rested a bunch of players. Rested, quote unquote, because they actually had to play quite a few players like at 45 minutes, at 55, at 65. They did really early subs for Leverkusen, but regardless, we're going to enjoy those players for Leeds, and then they've got a midweek match versus Fulham. So yeah, like when I kind of think about it from that perspective, I just think 15 is basically just 13, but somehow you like to do that when you're late. And then 16, as I started with the top, it's like that's a no Holland free hit if you want to get the expected value gain from
Oh
that.
yeah, for sure.
Otherwise,
Yeah,
there's no reason to free hit at all. And
yeah.
17, I think Bournemouth versus Burnley, because maybe you and I are likely to keep our Bournemouth players, there's no reason to free it there as well. So I think, yeah, that's why I'm going to free at 13 eventually.
Yeah. It's the sad part is
Oh, sorry. Someone
it's sort
mentioned
of
Newcastle at home to Burnley. Yeah, I think that's exactly the same as the Aston Villa versus Wolves game in the sense that we'll own triple
available.
Aston Villa and you'll own triple Newcastle. But it's the same logic. Like there are teams that you don't invest into right now. Like, for example, no one I think really likes to own a Newcastle player at this moment in time. Maybe Waltemad could be interesting, but when Thiago's there and there's a 3-5-2 around, like, do you really want Waltemad? Probably not. So yeah, fair point on that, but I still think it's the same as, let's say, owning a Rodgers on a free hit really this week. Kind of like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say that unfortunately, the Freed situation is that 13 seems to be the least worst game week, other
Yes.
than trying to find one game week that is clear of everyone else, every other game week. So I don't know because so every time I think of okay, so let's say you and I were talking before the pod, and I was talking to Mo yesterday. If someone asks me if I don't free it in 13, when do I free it? And I actually don't have an answer,
Yeah.
which means that automatically should imply, based on this as well, that 13 is as good as any game week to
True.
free it. So,
Well, that's the thing too.
and
You kind of have to make up scenarios, right? So it's like,
yeah,
oh, is there going to be a Haaland leak at some point in time? Do you hold your free hit for it? Okay,
ooh,
sure. Or is there going to
scary.
be? But I think like Pep's
Mm,
already seen like how bad. Like, so I'm sorry, he's already match rotated twice. Not as much,
yeah.
not as severely as he did versus Villa, but like the one time he actually played Villa with a B team, if I can call it like that, it did not work out, right? I think they lined up with Guardiola on the left. They played Savinho, they played Bob, they played Reinders in the hole. So
Mm,
like that was like 5-6 changes compared to the usual team, and he ended up having to like put Nico, Doku, Cherky, O'Reilly in the team, and then I think Marmoush came on as well, just because he started the game with two people that aren't effectively Doku and Cherky. So um, yeah, like it. I just feel like if City are gonna continue to fight on multiple fronts, they're just gonna have to play their starting 11 a few more times, because otherwise they're
yeah,
just gonna slip too much in the league table and in the Champions League where they just dropped points. And this is a funny thing because I think obviously in the Champions League they've had the luxury of maybe saying that they don't need to, and I feel like as you can kind of see from last season, I feel like most teams have kind of learned from the Liverpool experiment last season where you probably feel like you just need to rotate
Last
more
game,
often.
right?
Like we're seeing Kane.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
he's been subbed for certain games, right? And there's been sort of no
He was
reason to
what
do it.
65
Yeah,
against who was it? It was a tough game as well.
yeah,
Got Yeah, so you're absolutely right. We've seen so much more substitutions, early substitutions
yeah.
than we expected to because we still. So okay, so I was under the assumption that teams want to finish in the top eight,
Yes.
but it feels like their priority is no, we want to prioritize the league, and if we can, we'll try to finish in the top eight. So they don't mind the two extra games,
Yeah.
which is interesting because City last season lost to PSG heavily and then drew against Club Brugge and barely scraped into the top 24. So I'm thinking this is something gearing up to be something similar because they have Bodo Glimt and they have who's the other game? I forgot. Galatasaray. So they could easily end up with let's say 1 point in the next two games, and then they are absolutely in the midst for like top 24 instead of top eight. So given all of that, just feels like they're prioritizing the league, so we should be good in FPL. UCL Fantasy is a different issue, but for FPL we should be good with the main 11.
Yeah. I mean, I would be curious to see what the Arsenal lineup is. Like I'm starting to think about it now. Like maybe even Timber
For
can get benched.
Brent, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like Brentford game, it's so bad that honestly, if I could just get the fixtures reversed, I would honestly would love that because I know that Timber is going to get benched for Brentford when I get him back in my team,
You
which
think
is
so?
just it just is so. I mean, it's that's the only week where he could be benched, right? Do you
But
honestly see
what
him
if they
being
just
benched?
benched him versus Bayern?
Oh, oh yeah, okay,
I'm starting to think that that's
okay,
possible, right? Just the way
yeah,
the teams are sort of playing. But we'll see. We'll see. Like I
potentially,
think
yeah, yeah, yeah,
it
yeah.
kind of
See what
reminds
you're
me of
saying.
like Liverpool last season, where I think they kind of went full strength versus every possible team that they could have, and then obviously the rotation kind of screwed them at the end. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, it's like, do you need to go full strength on all the ties? Like even PSG last season were not a good group stage team, and they obviously like got a better team, like because they got Kvaratskhelia close to the end of the group stage, right? So, um, that dramatically changed their team, and so I think people just seem to be paying less attention to maximizing the group stage performance, and we'll probably continue to see that
Mhm.
going forwards.
Yeah.
But yeah, so okay, we seem to be quite inclined to 13. As I said though, like you can still create your own narratives. Like yeah, there's going to be some City games in the future where we'll get some leaks. Maybe there's a Haaland benching, but reality is most of the teams within the league are just going to have to go full strength as much as possible, and we will get leaks to one or two things, but is that enough to sort of push the dial for you? Because I think the main thing for 3 or 13 is that it's good enough already on paper, where if everyone in your rolling team was going to play this week and you were going to make transfers, I still think there's a massive gulf in expected value. Like the defense that I'm going to put out this week is tremendous. Mo Salah, quote unquote, football player, apparently points producer in the past, is going to be a part of my free hit. So maybe that's all fake, and we can say stuff like that. But yeah, like you'll want to maximize on stuff like that, and hopefully there's some value gain there. We'll see. Um, I actually have
Hey,
my
I
draft.
admire the fact that we want to go for a player who's averaging 0.23 in PXG per 90 this season. That's all I'll say.
Is it really so bad?
It is. I think it's something like zero point 0.2 in the region of zero point 0.2. It
Oh
is.
goodness. Yeah,
Yeah.
0.25, which actually, like, for
Yeah. Point 0.2.
most players as a midfielder is okay. But this is
It's
Mo
okay.
Mo
It's okay.
Salah we're talking
But
about.
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
we'll just have to I don't know, chalk it up to maybe he plays West Ham, and hopefully we can get away with it. Not that he's
Yeah.
gotten away with many other teams in the league. But yeah, this is the draft that I have. It's a bit of a team value flex once again. Double Villa defense. Part of it is because I think like there's no Villa defender that really produces DEFCON, so I think you just go for cash for the attacking returns. Collins actually does DEFCON, so I'd rather have him, obviously. O'Reilly, just a mixed bag. Like he's much more attacking than Mateus Nunes, so I don't think he's going to start, so I'm going to go for him. I mean, his attacking numbers are actually exceptional. Now, Foden's the interesting one where I think, obviously, if you look at this season's numbers, you can probably say, you know, why would you not go Doku? Why would you not go Cherki, who play less minutes but probably actually produce more within the comparative, I guess, like of Foden 85, 90. But, you know, at some point, Foden's going to produce something, surely. So that's cope there with Foden.
Yeah,
Rogers is the only sort of consistent Aston Villa player with minutes. Like, okay, Buendia, you know, Malin, not Watkins, who's had an awful season. Like, these are all players that can do well and reasonably play for Villa. But do I want them? Not really, because their minutes are poor.
mm,
Whereas Rogers is just a guarantee of a lot of things. Salah, I don't really need to explain. Gakpo, he's probably just I think once again, it's like, yeah, if you believe that Liverpool can still attack teams, which I think is still true. Like when I look at Forest, you know, they still racked up reasonably good XG. If there's anything Liverpool have been okay at this season, it's probably attack compared to defense, where the defense has just kind of fallen off a cliff. So yeah, Gakpo's probably the one for me, just given the injury situation. And Shade, I think, is just clearer Dango because the minutes. You know, there's
yes.
midweek football coming after this, so you have to just kind of anticipate that. Like someone like Dango could still get rested reasonably early. Their underlying stats are very similar, so you're just going to pick Shade, who plays 90 minutes, a lot easier. I think the the alternative picks that I would consider within this specific draft structure would be to go Sobo or Ismail Assar over Gakpo. Those are the
Mm,
two things I've considered. I think the review template draft, as you kind of shared with me once again, is basically a
yeah,
similar-ish template, but a 4-4-2, where instead of Gakpo and Rodgers, you actually just have Bruno in the midfield, and then you actually have most likely another Villa defender like Konsa,
yeah.
just
Kwanzaa, yeah,
triple up on Villa defense.
correct.
But yeah, I mean, and then I've got Senesi as an auto sub here because he kind of has the same clean sheet odds as Liverpool. Does DEFCON better than Virgil, so he's actually one of the best auto subs this week that I can afford. And then I've got Haaland, Thiago up top, and that's kind of the core of my team. What do you think about the free hit?
Yeah, honestly, if I look at the review one and then I look at this one, I would much rather go for something like this where I don't want to maximize the variability with triple defenses and triple attacks. I think I would much rather go for something like this where it's double attack, single defense, and just all the teams that you want to cover. So because for Gakpo, firstly, for anyone who doesn't know, Words is not even in the squad for today's game for Liverpool against PSV. So given that and the fact that Isaac is just, I don't know what has happened to him. So essentially, Ekitike is not even a consideration for the left wing spots right now. So I think Gakpo is free to probably get 90 in that game. So if that is the case, I just don't see why anyone would go Soboslai, given that Gakpo's
Yeah,
underlines are outstanding.
pretty much.
So he's absolutely a lock for me on free hit. And then other than that, I think the only consideration may be between Collins and Vandenberg, but I've seen a lot of arguments around why if you want to go for Vandenberg, that's a case. Like let's say people with inferior team value, you could just do Collins to Vandenberg and
Yeah,
potentially get away with it.
I mean the argument of
So
Vandenberg is that he's had like better XG for I don't know the last year or
that
so.
and also his defcons per 90 are skewed because of his right back uh, games. So if we want to consider only center back games, maybe it paints a slightly different picture. And he
Mm-hmm.
is more competitive with Collins. If not, of course, Collins is still better, but he is definitely more competitive with Collins. So those two things are something maybe people want to
Has
consider
he actually
those.
played right
And
back this
also,
season though?
no. I meant career average, not
Oh
not
right,
this
yeah,
season's
yeah, I
average.
see. Oh okay, yeah, that's a fair point.
Yeah. So for Rogers, I just want to temper expectations because even the brace he got against Leeds was like from less than zero point 0.5 xGA. So just I don't know what to expect. But at the same time, I definitely don't want to go for Bruno because
I've got no
there's no
interest
point
in
in
Bruno.
fate.
Like, I'm sorry, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
You're actually just such
Yeah.
that is a DefCon game first of all. So that's a lot of the projected
Yeah.
points there. And it's
Yeah.
like, am I
Yeah.
even really backing a Bruno result there? Like, I don't know, not really.
Yeah. I actually could not. I mean, with Salah and Gakpo, maybe I don't know if people want to go for Gakpo and Soboslai, But again, I don't know why you would do that, right? Ultimately, Salah has to have great minutes. Again, all of this is subject to everyone coming out unscathed from tonight's game, by the way. So if anything changes on that front, obviously Fran will have stuff updated on his channel, and also on the timeline we'll see discussion around how this will change. But assuming people are all fit, I think this is most likely what I would go for as well. Uh, any consideration for Virgil?
No, not really.
Yeah.
I think Virgil's literally on par with Senesi this week. You know, I don't have too much to say on that.
Yeah, no, honestly, neither do I.
I mean,
Yeah,
Virgil's
just
very good. It's just that we are on a free hit, so if you can actually get better expected value and still shell out a good team, like if he has the
yeah,
same expected value as Cash, I'm not going to go Virgil for any particular reason.
yeah,
Like, sure, he's got a big head. I don't know.
yeah. Also, another thing is City. The City game is technically one of the first games after deadline. So, if you want to wait for any potential leaks, you can also gamble on stuff like that. Like for example, if you could keep Foden in the team, and then if you find out that Doku is starting, I don't know if you want to switch over to him. But
Yeah.
like you said, the minutes are capped, so the expected value is capped as well. And I think it's just about if you believe that Foden's EV is actually real, because the
No,
underlyings are
yeah,
certainly
it's
not
fair.
there.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see
Yeah.
how that turns out. With
Underlines aren't
Chada, I
there,
just
but he still does
pick a
like
pen.
some weird bonus stuff, right? Like he still takes up pieces, which is nice.
Yes,
And he still takes
yes.
some shots, and he's a good finisher. So I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, the good finisher bit is lost in the sauce, but he is technically the best finisher in the league right now, at least on the data that we have.
Yeah.
So yeah, with Chada, I just hope he doesn't take a penalty again, because that would be the worst possible outcome for both Thiago and him, because I fully expect him to miss again, given what had happened last time. So we just hope that Thiago takes the next pen, even though he missed.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Do we want to discuss X-Men's too much this week? Or
Got a fair bit, I think, on I mean various
I
segments
think
prior to this.
yeah, to be honest, we can actually answer with X-Men's. I think we oops, what's going on here? Wrong slide.
Hey,
Technical problems and all that. But I think Matthias, thank you so much for the super chat earlier on. He actually asked a question, which is best midfielder punt for a guy not on free hit. Now, on this specific week, I think it's like it's not a great week to go into a mid. But I think like I don't think like if you don't have Minte, I guess it's Minte always. I think
yeah.
Anderson's quite interesting as well. Worth mentioning. As someone that you can
Oh
buy
wait,
this week.
have you come around? Have you come
Sorry,
around on him? Because
but what do you mean?
have you come
Have I
around
come
with
around
it?
on
And
him? Um,
because you were quite a hater, if I remember correctly.
yeah. Well, I think if he
So
now has like some surplus pen share, he's like, I mean, to be honest, he's actually worse than Dewsbury Hall. It's just that he actually has a decent fixture this week, right?
oh, okay. So I just meant like, are you not thinking long term? Because if it's not a midfielder on the free hit, I'm assuming it's not just
I
for
think
this
the
week.
next
Which makes me
five-ish
think
fixtures for them are
maintain.
pretty good. It's like Brighton at home, Wolves away, Everton away, Tottenham at home. But yeah, after that, it's kind of mediocre. But like mids, I don't know. Like mids are kind of boring this week. Like Enzo's a poor game. Tavernier may be decent, to be honest. Um,
Oh, can I ask you something? So, do you think the pen situation changes because Tavernier
yeah,
scored?
I actually think it could, right? But I'm still more like so. Semenyo's still taken two and scored, whereas like if you're using Evan Nielsen as like a comparative. I mean,
He's
he's
so
literally he's
yeah.
only missed one, so it's like it's not even we're not even in the same realm here. And Semenyo sort of is still the main man, even though you might think he might be leaving in January or whatever. I just think it'd be quite a statement for him to be off pens. I would be inclined to say Semenyo's on pens as long as Clivert's not on the pitch. But yeah, Tavernier's kind of put his name in there. I mean, I'd probably actually give it like 50-50 pen share, but then I would believe Semenyo takes if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean, as do I, but for now, let's say I'm 80-20, like 80% Semenyo, 20% Tavernier.
Fair.
Uh, think that Kluivert is, because I think Kluivert also got
He's
injured again, right?
yeah, he has an
He's not.
abductor. He has an abductor injury. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So we don't even need to consider him.
Yeah. But there's not a lot of mids you can pick, right? So the only reason why I mentioned Anderson is like I think you can sort of short term rotate with some pretty like inexpensive mids. Because yeah, like once you chalk Minte off the table, there's just not a lot. Like even for example, if you buy a Brentford like player this week, the next two games are pretty diabolical. So it's like, do you really want them?
Oh yeah.
Maybe it's Barnes. I don't know if you think that like he's the one who's like holding Eddie Howe's job together. You know, it could be Barnes. I don't know.
I mean, I saw the game against Marseille yesterday, and with minutes, you know that Gordon's minutes are capped for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
So if that is the case, maybe Barnes has better minutes now, but I don't know. The situation is so fluid there that I would expect it to change at any moment, like
It
it
is
changed
difficult.
in his benefit, in his favor, right? So I just don't want to go there. And honestly, I am a little biased because I got burnt by it earlier this season. So yeah, I would just advise excess caution with him.
Yeah. So I think yeah. Well, in summary, Minte, Tavernier,
Yeah.
Anderson. Although like Dewsbury Hall's turning out to be a very good pick. Have I owned any points from him? Absolutely
Yeah.
none. What a bowler though. Ruined my evening. Nice.
Hard.
Um,
That was something.
yeah, probably ruined yours a bit more as a United fan, I
Yeah.
guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Right-footed as well. I'm pretty sure he's left-footed, unless I'm wrong. So yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I think
Well,
he is right. Based on the
no,
corners,
I'm
he's
pretty
maybe
sure.
I
No,
don't know.
he takes no because Garner's right-footed and Garner takes the other side.
Oh, true. 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 True.
So
True.
yeah,
True.
he
True. Yeah.
decided to just weak foot
Oof.
banger you, and yeah,
Yikes.
that was me. Mental fragility.
Mm.
Okay,
Hmm.
let's just jump into. I mean, are there other minutes discussions to have? I think the problem with the landscape right now is it's so clear cut. Like, I think if anything,
It's,
this is like a week where if we were to do something on X-Men's Corner, it's like just to say that a lot of players have bad mins. Like, I think Mateta, his mins, like, you got to dock them down a bit for sure, which makes Thiago even more exciting as a buy. Like, I don't know, Evan Nilsson with no pen share. By the way, petition to tax all the Evan Nilsson pen share
oh yeah, for
EV
sure.
from
For
all
sure. Yeah. Yeah.
those really smart
Yeah.
managers from Gameweek 1
Yeah.
onwards.
It's actually insane how disinterested, or I don't know if he's disinterested, but the fact that he's nowhere close to the conversation in the team, it's actually insane. And
Yeah.
he's supposed to be the main man. So I just don't know, man. It's just
Oh, I guess if
yeah.
Muniz is out, obviously Raul's quite interesting,
Yes.
as a pick. There's nothing that I mean. That's the forward position for you. Waltermad's, I guess, somewhat interesting as well, just because Wisa still seems to be like timeline awful. In the midfield position, I just don't think there's like. Is there anyone that
Um,
like you could possibly underrate on minutes?
Also, with the Gordon min stacks, that automatically means that Voltamada has more of a pinch here. So
Yes.
maybe
Yeah,
there's
it's
something
true.
in that.
Yep.
And just added bonus, Osula is also out, injured. So
Yes, it's
even if they
true.
wanted to sub Voltamada out, there's actually no one per se. I mean, Joe Linton can play center forward, but yeah, I think it's best for everyone that he doesn't. So assuming all of that, I think Voltemada might end up having the best minutes right now from a Newcastle attack. And yeah, I don't know. I just
Yeah.
feel like Thiago is such a. I mean, I know we discussed the fact that he had bad fixtures, but firstly, I think ever since like when we discussed that, some of the bad fixtures have already gone.
Yeah.
So over the
And,
horizon, his
and he
expected
scored
value
in
is
a lot of them.
and
Yeah.
he scored in a lot of them, which is which
The
is
thing is,
why
his NPXG is actually super mediocre still. I just want to
it
say,
is.
don't let's not get it twisted. He's not one of the greatest players of all time. But he has
But
done
the
well
thing
for
is,
himself.
he
And
owned.
it's fair to say that Brentford are good at getting penalties. I think that's fair to say. My bad.
Dango is just he's broken, right? He's just
That's
capable
true.
of winning a penalty at any point. And sorry, I was just going to say that we own an NPXG god, and bro gets
Oh,
subbed
Mateta.
for
Yeah, fair play.
59 minutes.
Yeah.
So yeah, 90
59,
minutes
right?
wins.
Yeah, I would have
Yeah.
Mateta's minutes around 75, and I feel like that can be kind or unkind on any given week, but it just does indicate that he's going to be a sell very, very.
Wait, is that the? Are you also counting the Serie A attacks, or is this just based on outcome minutes outcome?
No, I think that's just based on Nketiah being back, right?
Yeah. So, yeah. I just wanted to confirm that. Okay.
Oh,
That
right. The
sounds good.
Serie A tax definitely applies a little bit, but I just think, yeah, with Nketiah back, it's a problem. Like no matter which way you slice it, because I think the comparative game is like versus Everton, similar situation as well, where I think they were in a drawn game state and they subbed him off, or maybe they were actually ahead at the time. But yeah, they had subbed him off at 69 minutes. So there's already a couple instances where he's had like 3 75-minute subs.
For sure.
And yeah, like I just think it's really hard to justify that he can hit the upper bound. They have to be like losing first of all. And then he himself has to be playing remotely decently because I think like clearly, even though the XG is nice, it's like as a manager from Glasgow's perspective, like you're looking at a guy just miss chances, and you're
Oh
probably
yeah.
a bit infuriated, which is normal.
No, but see, there's like I was thinking about this for Mateta. There's
Yeah,
like I feel like there's two categories of people of strikers that get great NPXG per 90. One is skilled strikers who actually like with their positioning are able to generate that NPXG,
right.
and then there's a team setup which is geared towards supplying
Yes,
anyone who is standing in that place.
right.
So I feel like with the Crystal Palace structure, I feel like it's 50-50. I don't think
I
it's
think it is like that because he's got honestly
yeah.
he's got a
So
big head, and actually a lot of the XG comes from like huge chances that are headers,
yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
But
Also, you said rightly said that the Bournemouth game was a classic example where game state dictated that he played 90 minutes, which
yeah,
automatically meant that he got 90 minutes to actually get 3 plus NPXG in that game. So that's
true.
not going to happen so very often. So yeah, just temper your expectations.
On defense, I think the only pick that's probably worth mentioning from an X-Men's perspective is probably just O'Reilly. I'd probably like dock him up all the way to like 80 now, and I think I'd be pretty comfortable with that on solves. Um,
Mm, yeah, I mean, maybe 80 with a slightly more aggressive decay than
yeah, but you can't
like
really put Decay over AFCON though, right? So you're actually going to scale his minutes up like around 17 to
okay, I see what you're
a
saying.
few
No, I
weeks.
just meant until maybe AFCON, but yeah, that's too close now. So
Yeah.
you're actually right.
But also,
The
like,
the
I
only
don't
game
know. It's
that
like, you listen to Pep's comments and it's just like, oh, I probably shouldn't have rotated so much. And it's like, yeah,
no, but
well,
to be fair,
but he
that
still
was a
does
little
it.
frustration.
He still does
I
it.
saw that, and to be fair, City did absolutely outscore Leverkusen on
On XG,
XG.
yeah, they
So
smashed
it's not
them.
like
Yeah.
absolute. So that I think that's why he was a little angry that he knew that question was coming, and so
Yeah, I know it's
instead of
fair.
being adversarial, he just sort of like played it off like,
Yeah.
ah, yeah, you're based on
But
outcome.
like,
Yeah, basically
fine.
he was calling them an outcome merchant. So, but you're right. Ultimately,
Sort
we have
of.
to look at what it is and not like try to interpret every single body language moment. So I completely
Yeah.
agree with you that
But it also
yeah,
seemed
we
like that game was a lot closer until the halftime subs, right? So it's like for me, the fact that Bob, Lewis, and Nuri were the halftime subs is a pretty
yes,
big indication of like what he like who he was still happy with
yeah.
um to be left on the pitch. And those
Also, I'm just
three
going to
weren't
say,
them.
Aitnuri has been so bad in all the games. Well, I mean, not that he's been terrible, but City has been terrible as a result, and
Yeah.
it's been very apparent. And the difference between him and Nico O'Reilly is stark. So I just feel
No,
like
Nico Ryan's honestly had an exceptional season. Like the underlines that
yes,
he's on right now, he's
yeah,
cooking, something absolutely different.
yeah.
And just like, yeah, I don't know, very, very productive
I think
player.
it lends more credence to the fact that Guardiola's share from last season or the season before, I guess, it was more down to the position itself and not. I mean, of course, individual abilities do count, but
Yeah.
that position does seem to be broken, left back at City. So if you can get consistent minutes there, it just seems to be crazy in terms of output and underlines.
No, that's true. Yeah, I mean, beyond him though, I don't think there's too many people to talk about. I think
No.
sometimes it's always an emotional call too, in terms of like things like Timber, as we talked about with the Brentford game. Like I think that's the big question game. But at the end of the day, like we're all going to play through that game week. Like I myself actually have like Richards as well, who could be a big question mark for that game week. But I think you're just going to play those players hoping for the best that they start. Because I think for a lot of the teams, like even Crystal Palace, this is set up to be like one of their best Premier League seasons ever. So you're still
Yeah.
going to maximize like Premier League matches because I mean in the Europa Conference League, like they're still in a group stage, right? So it's quite different. So okay, you can kind of mention that sure, Canvo has played in the Conference League table games, but I think like Glasner's preference would still be to play Richards twice a week in the Prem. I could be wrong, and I'm happy to be wrong, but I think that's just the point, right? It's like you don't see Palace mass rotate ahead of a Conference League game. I think every team's preference is to go full strength in the Prem as much as possible. So yeah, I think the Arsenal case is just a very exceptional one because it's like this is potentially an opportunity to announce to the rest of the world that you are the best team in Europe ahead of schedule.
Yeah,
But,
for sure. For sure. Also, with Richards, first of all, he has traveled to Strasbourg, so that is already great news for anyone who was stressing
yeah,
about what happened to him in the Premier League game. So he should be good. And also, one thing is that Palace don't have 8 games to play because Conference League still goes with the old Champions League structure
structure.
of 6
Yeah,
games. So they won't have any games, group stage games in January. Although they will have, I think there is an additional knockout stage for Conference League, but maybe I'm misremembering. But either way, they don't have 2 group stage games that Europa and Champions League teams do, and so they will have more time then. Even though they are in the EFL Cup, so I don't know how I mean how they're going to manage the workload overall,
right.
and we'll just have to once we get closer to that point, we'll have to see because I also have Triple Palace right now, and I think the only downgrade I see right now for myself as well is Mateta to Thiago. So we'll see in the future what happens.
Yeah. All right, cool. I think that's kind of it though, right? In terms of X-Men's, or is
Yeah,
there
I mean,
anyone too interesting?
no, because you're right, absolutely. That it's weird that unless you have actual injured players, it's just not that complicated right now. And unless you have a lot of chips to play, which is that's
Right.
just seems kind of a bad time to have a lot of chips to play, but uh, maybe also opportunities will open up. So
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I don't know. It's not ideal, I think. Maybe Jeremy Pino can be also added to the conversation amidst that you can look to buy in general. I don't think his mints are going to be poor going forwards, and I think he's pretty acclimated to the team. But like that's like once again, if you're shopping very cheap and I don't know, want an upgrade over like a Dewsbury Hall, that type of player. But it's not you're not going to get a huge upgrade. I think it's just still very short term with the Palace fixtures, which do turn a bit worse quite shortly. Ahead of
yeah, they
AFCON.
have Arsenal and so no, so not Arsenal. Sorry, they have City and someone else like
Yeah,
in back-to-back
yeah.
games.
So yeah, well, I mean, shall we move on to Q&A?
Let's do that.
Yeah. Well, thanks Mo for joining. Thank you, Raheem as well. Chital, nice to see you around. Mr. Arctic Funky's had a great week. Even though we weren't wondering. Touch says, hello, my favorite review copycats. Fair play. Should we be using your model instead? Or I don't know. Why is jamming an issue anyways? Yeah, I guess it's not. The game is about a good
It's
squad.
not,
Agreed. Do you still
honestly.
think
Yeah.
Mbemo is a buy given the next 4 games? I personally think he is. Like, if you don't have an AFCON player, I just can't see why Mbemo is a bad buy. Because
I
he,
agree with you.
for me, he just has
Absolutely. Yeah.
incredible bang for buck. Like, even if you look at someone like Cunha, like, he can come back from injury, but it doesn't necessitate, sorry, that he's going to play 90 minutes every single match. Like, when Sesko was out, sure, that's the basis for saying that Cunha is going to get starts, but you can see that he got subbed at like 72 minutes versus Tottenham, right? So it's not like his minutes are
Yep.
perfect. Foden might be more interesting, but then of course, when you're free hitting on 13, like that kind of takes the considerations away from Foden. They also still have poor fixtures, right? So for example, like 16 is a poor fixture for Crystal Palace away. So if you free hit, like it actually almost takes away the value from Foden out because you still have Fulham away in the distance and then Crystal Palace away. And for me, like I'd rather see Foden come out of like 14 and 16 and then actually say around game week 17 time when Mbeumo's right there to then move Mbeumo to Foden. Because it lines up perfectly with when you want to make those types of transfers. Another thing too is like a lot of people think that the AFCON is happening at 16, but like you have the transfers on 16. It doesn't mean that you're selling Mbeumo on 16. So like someone was speaking to me on the internet about how if I was going to free at 16, I was going to lose 0.3 million in the bank by owning Mbeumo. Well, first of all, I think there are kind of like these kind of measures in place to prevent people from having 3 drops in one successive game week. But also at the same time, like Mbeumo's probably going to start at home versus Bournemouth in that week, and then he's going to go. Most likely,
Yeah.
right? So a lot of the AFCON players could leave at 16, but they most likely will just leave on 17, depending on their fixture as well. Right? For example, like I think Mazraoui, I can't remember what country he plays for right now, but his game in AFCON I think happens
Oh,
3 days earlier to Cameroon's game, which is Mbeumo's game.
yeah.
So like that has implications on how fast people go. And we'll have to just see. But yeah, I think Mbeumo makes a lot of sense. And it just goes back to the point that the midfield landscape's kind of horrible, and he's the only realistic sort of producer of points. And if all of us are doing moves like shipping Mateta out to Thiago, or you're let's say you own João Pedro and you own a 3-4-3, I don't think you're actually shopping for forwards. I think you're just going to go to Gu, right? So where's the money going to?
Yes.
Money's going to defense. Money's going to midfield. So it kind of makes picks like Mbeumo a bit more interesting. Now, of course, like I'm not saying it has to be Mbeumo, but you can just go for another Arsenal defender if you, I don't know, downsized recently. Or alternatively, I guess your 3-4-3 could be something like maybe like Welbeck, Thiago, Holland. But I feel like Welbeck, if I was to compare him to Minte, like I'd still prefer owning Minte over Welbeck personally. So I'd much rather back the 3-5-2, and hence why I think Mbeumo's good. Yeah. Sorry, I think there was obviously some issues with my microphone, but I think to be completely
No, no, no.
honest, my
You were
my
good. It's just
yeah,
that, yeah, I
you know
think
what's actually
while you
happening right now is my
little,
my
yeah.
default microphone's not working, so I'm actually using my PlayStation controller microphone um for the episode, and
There's no way. What? I didn't even
hopefully
realize that. That's
it
crazy.
is. So
Okay.
hopefully it's working out reasonably well. Someone's asked a
I
question about
hear you
Sara and
perfectly.
Munoz for this game
You're
week.
good.
I think it comes down to just how you evaluate like United. Like maybe you still think they're pretty awful, which I think like having a sense check is good, right? Because for example, the market odds are actually quite against Palace, but if you look at a model like 11 of 5s, which actually tends to hate on United a bit more, love Palace a bit more,
Mhm.
it still indicates that it's a pretty mediocre Palace week. Although I think it's a good enough justification to go Sar on the free hit. But I think, yeah, if I was convinced that Gakpo's going to play 95 minutes, I'm going to go Gakpo every time over Sar, just on that
Yes.
justification. But if I'm somehow uncertain about that, then maybe, yeah, I'll pivot to Sar. And I think Sar could be on my free hit.
By the
Munoz,
way,
though, not so
we are
interested.
we
What's
are
up?
back to the same place where if we are going to tax Mateta's minutes, we have to increase SAR's pinch share. So
That's a good point. That's a good point.
yeah,
Yeah.
and we were in a similar situation the other way around, where once Nketiah got injured, we had to make sure that SAR had
That's
next
true.
to no pinch share. So I don't know how much that's going to change things, but if you were to, let's say, give SAR around 30% pen share or 20%, I don't know, depends on what you think Mateta's wins are.
Yeah.
It just feels like SAR could just be the option, but I don't know if it's more of a permanent move than a temporary, because you mentioned Mbumo, right? And the
Yeah.
alternative to Mbumo is SAR. If you want that one AFCON player who's going to go away,
Yeah.
that
No,
is
I
going
think
to be
that's
a
fair.
tough.
That's a good
Yeah.
point. Yeah. But the problem with Sara too is like, I own Sara in other game formats, and obviously I'll persist with owning him. But it's like, yeah, am I going to own him as a
Yeah.
pre-transfer? It's a tough one. Um,
Yeah.
Seb said it's his final decision: Shadi versus Bruno. I mean, Shadi most likely is likely going to play 90 minutes, although he doesn't have pen share to me. But I'd probably still
Yeah.
have him over Bruno.
Yeah.
I just think like taking away a Brentford attacker so that you can get another Brentford defender doesn't really seem like the best way of approaching things to me in terms of
because
squeezing out
because
the
the
team
only
value.
way you could do that is to sacrifice Nico O'Reilly.
Sort
And
of. Or yeah, or once again
sort
you
of.
just go to another 4-4-2, which is kind of ugly, but like I don't know.
Yeah,
Um
yeah,
Game
or
week
that. Yeah.
4 was the best time to use the free hit chip. I'm not sure about that really. I generally think
Mm.
313 is going to cook, and so let's see. I could be on this episode next week just crying like a little baby. But this, I think, the reality with when we knew that free hit in the first half of the season was coming out is that it's super variance driven. So like, we'll see. Stack double Brentford defense instead of Sade, bet against Rogers. I guess you can. If you're
That's the
stacking a
thing.
double Brentford
Yeah.
defense, it's like, so what? You can get some midfielders that are like Bruno. I don't know. Like, what's the?
That's exactly what we just talked about, right? The 4-4-2 would be
Yeah,
double Brentford defense, and then Rogers, sell Rogers for Bruno, and then bench one of the midfielders. So
yeah,
I don't know. I'm not too thrilled by the prospect of doing any of that, given that
yeah.
Bruno's EV, like you said, is being driven by defensive contributions. So just
Pretty
don't
much.
feel
Yeah.
inspired by that.
Can we talk about how cheap defenders are currently doing the job? There's no need for a Virgil van Dijk. I mean, the reality is that most of the best defenders in the game are still expensive, right? Like Timber, Munoz, Gabriel, who's obviously out, but the like for like replacement is also another expensive Arsenal defender. Like I mean, maybe there's a couple cheap ones doing well, like Anderson and Keane, but I think these are obvious ones that we all own. Like for the most part, I think it's okay to criticize Virgil. I think it's fair, but like in reality, most of the best defenders are expensive, or I think rotating defenders and actually having more defenders at the end of the day is still the best approach. Like if you have like a lot of people actually just have maybe like 2 to 3 4.5 defenders and then maybe two expensive defenders, and they're playing 4-4-2 very often and getting success, like good results from it, because in reality the forwards don't do anything, and the midfielders, like, they're not that much better than defenders. Like, so most weeks you actually will probably have some sort of decision between playing a 3-5-2 or 4-4-2, and that just shows you how strong defenders are. So I feel like, yeah, we can say Virgil's awful, but I think that's just Liverpool defense being bad, and obviously his defcons have gone up, but he is still capable of dropping like a nuclear hull. Hopefully not on free at 13, but yeah,
You know it's happening. You
it
know
is
it's
happening.
happening.
Who cares? Let's just move
Because
on.
how close were we to that happening when we benched him against City?
That's true.
And
That's
it
true.
should
He could
have
have
happened.
scored,
It
and
should have
yeah,
happened,
should have
honestly.
happened. How are you guys
So
dealing with the AFCON transfers from a review perspective? Are you gradually decaying FD value? This has always been the problem with review in a sense, right? Where it's like you run the solve from the original FT value. So how are you going to deal with that? I guess.
so what the way I was doing it until let's say last week was so. Hmm, how can I give a quick example? So
Be right
let's
back.
say you want to run what is this week? It's Gameweek 13, 14, 15, and 16. So wait, are you still there, Fran? Oh, oh, we lost Fran. Maybe I don't know. Okay, but I'm just going to quickly explain. So we have 4 game weeks, and if you let's say take a FT value of let's say 2, which would be your usual FT value, you would do 2 times 4, which is 8, and then instead of dividing by 4, you would divide it by 9. So you get slightly less than 1 as the new FT value. And I've been using this sort of back of the envelope formula to sort of adjust for FT value, but I don't know. As we get closer to the actual deadline, I don't, or the actual deadline of getting 5 free transfers, I don't know how you're going to deal with it necessarily. The other thing I was thinking of is you could just solve until you get 5 free transfers and not go beyond that horizon, but that doesn't work if you want to free hit beyond that horizon. So I'm a little unsure on what is the best strategy to deal with it. But there are a couple of things that I just mentioned that you could potentially do to sort of take care of that. Um, okay, I think that's about that. Yeah, okay. So thank you everyone for joining us today. I know it was a bit of an odd stream at an odd timing prior to the Champions League games, but I hope you've had a good Game Week 12. Best of luck for Game Week 13. I'm going to try to find out what happened to Fran. Hope everything is okay. And yeah, let us know if you want us to cover anything else for Game Week 14. And see you soon. Take care, guys. Bye.